I guess I'll start with my background. My dad was a Navy officer, Navy pilot, and I grew up around the Navy installation, was born in Naval Hospital. One of the factors that brought me into the Marine Corps was going aboard base during the late Vietnam era, 73, 74, 75 time frame. I had the opportunity to go aboard base and saw the Navy had relaxed their standards during that time frame, and the hair got long and the beards were grown, and there were just a lot of things that were not real military looking. And every time I drove in the base and there were Marines on the post, they looked like Marines. They were Marines I'd seen when I was growing up, and they continued to be the same type Marines. That influenced me to go into the Marine Corps. I've got two brothers who are Navy. I'm the only black sheep in the family. I went in the Marine Corps. Got a lot of flack about that initially, but that all got better. Anyway, growing up around the Navy and the experience of the military, that impacted me significantly with my dad's presence about going to the Marine Corps. 1977, June of 77, I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University, was commissioned in the Marine Corps. Went to Quantico, did the usual basic school. From there, I was selected to go into artillery, went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and did a number of months over there learning to be an artillery officer. May of 79, I went to Okinawa, Japan, 3rd Battalion, 12th Marines. There, originally got there as a legal officer, or originally assigned as a legal officer, and later on went down to be the battery executive officer, or assistant executive officer for Vernon I, 3rd Battalion, Battery I, 3rd Battalion, 12th Marines, where we were deployed with a battalion landing team to Korea and back to Okinawa and then back over to Korea again, several trips. Eventually ended up in Camp Fuji, Japan. Again with a battalion landing team, we shot a lot of artillery. From there, I rotated back to the States and reported for duty at Parris Island in June of 79. June of 80. And once I got to Parris Island, I was a series officer for a number of recruit platoons that went through a number of recruit series. Later, eventually ended up as battalion legal officer again in the recruit training battalion, and finished my tour as was promoted to captain, executive officer for B Company, 1st Recruit Training Battalion. I did spend time in A Company and B Company of 1st Recruit Training Battalion, which happens to be the oldest recruit training battalion in the Marine Corps at Parris Island. From there, I went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, assigned to 5th Battalion, 10th Marines. Initially arrived there as and assigned as an assistant training officer, assistant operations officer for the battalion, 5th Battalion, 10th Marines. Pulled that assignment for about 6 months, and then was assigned as the commanding officer of Tango Battery, 5th Battalion, 10th Marines, and had that distinct duty for over a year. Deployed a number of times to 29 Palms, California, where we provided support for a number of combined arms exercises, and shot, at that time the battery was 175s. We had one of the last 175 millimeter batteries in the Marine Corps. Just prior to turning over the battery, we retubed to 8-inch artillery and redesignated to become Romeo Battery 510. Once I left then Romeo Battery, I was assigned as the CO of Headquarters Battery for about 8 months, and headed up the Headquarters Battery section. And then from there, I was pulled to become the Assistant Operations Officer at Regiment, 10th Marine Regiment, and performed that duty for about 8 months. I replaced a major who was in Beirut during that time. We had the flare-up in Beirut, and he was actually shot coming back from a border crossing, and I was assigned to take his place, which really thrilled my wife, knowing that he'd been shot and I was going to replace him and go over there. And I was ready to go, but then they ended up canceling our mission, and we eventually ended up staying stateside. From there, I received orders to Okinawa. There was a little bit of phone conversation that went back and forth with Headquarters Marine Corps, and I eventually ended up here with inspector instructor duty here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as the inspector instructor for Delta Battery 214. I was the assistant inspector instructor for 2nd Battalion, 14th Marines, and had a collateral duty with the 14th Marine Regiment, which was here in NAS Dallas, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.